Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you what's going on, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Live with Wolfman. I am your host, Jacob Wolfman, and this is a show about all the things that I'm interested in, all the things you're interested in. Today is a completely different change of pace. We are stepping outside of our little martial arts bubble, our tricking bubbles, and we're going to go in the dance scene today. We have with us he's basically me if I was interested in breaking. Like if I was interested in breaking, this is the path I would have taken. Instead, I did it in martial arts. So he's the me version of breaking. That's the best way to put it, except he's way more successful. Without further ado, let me bring him in on scene. Everybody give it up for Daniel Zhu. Woo! Daniel, you're live.
Jacob, good morning.
Good morning. Nice and bright early morning for you. How you doing today?
every
Oh no.
It's actually pretty good. So
All right, good. We lost you for like 1 second. There's like some sort of lag. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Daniel, can you please tell the people who you are, real concisely?
I'm one of the co-founders of, which is a huge channel. I would say the big bulk of our audience is for hip hop dance, more primarily breaking. But we do cover the occasional, tricking event and other.
Daniel, hold on a second. I think we need to
Okay.
sign you out and sign you back in because our connection was totally fine till the interview started, and now I'm getting like you're dropping out every like 2 words.
Let's try again.
All right. So fresh start. Let's get. Wait, you seem to be okay. Can you give me a mic check?
Am I okay?
You're really pixelated.
How's it going?
You're pixelated, but I can hear you. All right, I don't know. Let's do it again. I'm sorry. Internet,
Okay.
man. The internet. I don't know what to say. So, you were saying you are one of the co-founders of Stance, one of the biggest breaking channels out there. First off, I know I already asked you before the show, but
Yeah.
I think the audience, because I'm going to assume everybody that watches the show is completely ignorant to breaking. Like, maybe we know a couple things, but hardly anything. So we got to start from, like, basic level. You got to treat us like children here.
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference between the word b-boying and breaking? Because I'm always
geez.
just like, what? I don't know. What do I say?
Everyone has a different backstory to all of this. There's breaking, there's b-boying, there's even something else called Bboying, breakdance, and basically it all comes down to restarted in the 70s. You had this dance form that started in the Bronx, and depending on what borough you lived in and you picked it up on, you had a different term for it. Among the dancers nowadays, it's typically referred as breaking. I breaking mainly because if you say b-boying, you have to explain, well, why is there no b-girling? You have to. It's like one sex.
Oh.
So if you just say breaking, it just makes it a lot easier.
Yes. You can now easily have Caitlyn Jenner join the crew, and then there'd be no questions. Okay, that was a bad
There you
joke.
go.
I'm sorry. I need more coffee. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. All right, well that makes sense. That's an easy explanation. I was just never sure breaking, b-boying, but breaking sounds more badass anyhow. It's like you're breaking stuff. Now,
I think breaking is cool. It's just
yeah, I think something that's really fascinating, and actually so here's another backstory for everybody that's listening. I've met Daniel a total of like 1 time officially for like 2 minutes once. Several years ago. So I'm still getting to know Daniel pretty well. But we have a very similar story through life. First off, we both went to college at the same college, University of Madison. That's why I'm wearing my Badgers gear today, which I think is pretty dope. And also, I just learned before the show started that him and I actually used to train at the same open gym, which it blows my mind. I can't believe this. So like way back in the day, it's like 2003, there was like this open gymnastics place, and on one side of the floor there would be breakdancers doing their thing. On the other side of the floor there were the trickers doing their thing. And I just think it's fascinating. You fast forward 15 years, and now here we are, like doing like. I just think it's cool. It's a cool shared history. I don't have a question there. I should have had a question. It's supposed to be an interview instead of me rambling. But anyhow, I just had to point that out. It's just fascinating. I had a point and I lost it.
It's crazy how it's crazy how, you know, Madison. I don't think Madison's known for tricking. I don't think Madison's known for.
Not at all. Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah. That's right. That's weird. Madison is like, everybody just thinks it. Everybody on the coast, they call it a flyover state. You know, like they don't even know it's on the map. They don't know it exists. People, actually, it's funny. People on the West Coast. How many people on the West Coast think Madison is the East Coast? Do you get that a lot? Did you ever hear that? Like everybody, when I used to live out in California, everybody called anything that was basically east of California, they call it the East Coast. And I'm like, dude, we're not the East Coast. We're like our own thing. We're like between the Midwest. I don't know. Daniel, I want to know, what's your background? What's your history? How did you get into the breaking scene and then the filming thing?
For breaking, I started in the year 2000. Partially at UW-Madison. We founded the first ever breaking club there, and we learned amongst ourselves. We learned amongst, you know, other crews in the area, you know, that would come in from Milwaukee and Chicago. And I also, you know, danced a little bit when I left for the summers in DC. So, but since then, you know, once you start, you know, you get hooked, and so everywhere you go, you know, no matter where I traveled, my life went from Madison to Alaska to Africa, to Alaska, to Korea, to the United States again. Yeah, I've traveled the world, and everywhere I went, I still danced. And so I just made more and more connections.
Yeah.
And among my travels, I was like, you know, let me get out this camera. There's some cool stuff I need to show people. So, and that's especially in Korea, because the breaking scene there is huge. So then people just, you know, started to watch, and you just get a momentum going.
That's awesome. I think that's one of the cool things about the tricking scene too, is like, when I was, you know, I'm less into the tricking scene these days. I'm more into the martial arts scene, which is a little bit different. Tricking scene is more free form, unorganized, kind of like breaking. And it's like you go to anywhere in the world and you'll be able to find people that just want to train and just want to go and like do it. And that's the coolest thing in the world, because you can literally hop on a plane and land in almost any country and probably find somebody that's going to take care of you if you wanted to live like that, which I did for a little while. I've done it a few times. I've been to a few countries, didn't have any plans. I'd hit up some people in that country that I knew were trickers, and they were like, yeah, I'll take care of you, which is cool. It's a cool way to live, and it's a cool way to connect with people. So then I know that the first time I ever heard about you was when you had Strife TV. This was pre-Stance.
Yes.
So I think your story with filmmaking, I assume, would start with Strife. Is that correct?
Yeah, Strife was myself and a couple of other friends. We mostly all went to UW-Madison. We all went to the University of Wisconsin.
Awesome.
We all practiced at that same gymnastics gym. But since then, a lot of them stopped filming, and so myself and a couple other friends, you know, let's create something our own that we own. So we created Stance.
Yeah, and Stance has blown up. It's huge now. I mean, it's amazing. How long has Stance been around?
Sorry again. You broke up.
Oh, sorry. How long has stance been around?
Stance has only been around for 3 years.
Right, 3 years.
3 years. We have like 800,000 followers on Facebook.
Yep.
Like almost 200,000 on Instagram.
Yep.
It's like our momentum is high, you know,
fantastic,
and
yeah.
And when we started Stance, we wanted to make it. We're like, let's just do our interests. So we threw out breaking. We threw out here in LA. We threw out like jam, like tricking. We threw out like everything that we liked, just so we don't get people by surprise if we do something different.
Say that again. You threw it out.
Well, like for content wise, for when we started Stance, we started off with a lot of breaking, a lot of tricking. We did things like jam gatherings. We did things like loop kicks.
You just wanted to celebrate the art of movement, and then you kind of just
the art of movement, yeah.
And then due to your past and your like what you're really interested in, you kind of were gravitated towards the breaking thing. I mean, you still do a little bit of tricking and stuff, but which is cool. It's awesome. Yeah, I have seen that's how we reconnected.
Every now and then. Yeah.
I saw you at a jam gathering collecting footage, and I've seen that you've covered loop kicks and stuff before, which is pretty cool. But definitely everybody in the world just knows Stance as like the breaking scene. And you've been like you said, you've been gaining a lot of momentum lately, and I noticed some cool things have been happening. Recently, Stance was featured on Joe Rogan's podcast, and then last week, I think, is Tim Ferriss. He was like talking about you guys on Ask Gary Vee's show. Yeah. What's going on there? Like, what are they talking about? Like, what happened there?
So, I mean, both Tim Ferriss used to be a breaker. Tim Ferriss used to dance at the at Princeton University, and somehow through footage and the momentum, Tim Ferriss got caught up. He discovered he follows us starting this year, and then he pushed it onto Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's like, "This is amazing." And if you look at the footage that we put out, how can you not be amazed by some of the stuff you see nowadays?
Yeah.
And in an ideal world, I hope that they keep pushing it, because I want breaking to be even bigger. If Joe Rogan was one of the early adopters of UFC, so if he thinks it's interesting, I hopefully in years down the line, breaking will be even much more bigger to the mainstream audience.
For sure. And I know that martial arts and tricking, we have those same visions. We think it's like the coolest freaking thing. Both of these, breaking, martial arts, tricking, they all have this shared thing of, did I lose you? I think I lost him. I'm sorry, guys. We're having trouble on the show with the internet connection today. I wish that wasn't the case. Let me try to get him back on. One second. I got to work on my technology. I'm starting to think that maybe I need to start just paying for some sort of service so that you guys can watch it without any interruptions, because this seems to be happening a lot lately, and I'm not a big fan of that. So hopefully Daniel joins us back in like 1 second. Let me give him a call. Let's see if he gets back on. Come back to us. Czar, what's up, dude? Evan, how you doing? It's because kids are out of school burning up the internet. Alright. We'll try him one more time. Sometimes you'll get into this war where you're trying to call somebody and they're trying to call you at the same time and then nobody answers. Wait, I hear ringing. Let's see if we get him back. Hello?
Hello.
Alright. Hey, you look better. You look better. I don't know what happened. Maybe it reset and we're good.
I I did some tinkering.
Tinkering.
During yeah.
All right. I like tinkering. Okay, so basically, we were talking about how you want to see the breaking scene get more recognition, and it's awesome
Yeah.
that Joe Rogan's giving you some props here and there, Tim Ferriss giving you some props here and there, but you want them to keep going, right? You want to keep inspiring the world. And
Yeah.
what kind of have you seen like a increase in engagement and interest in stance since these guys have been talking about you?
There has been. For right now, I feel for stance, it's like what we're trying to do here as stance is like walk a fine line between getting hardcore dancer a dance audience and then getting non-dancers to follow us. Because obviously there's so many more people outside the scene that have not discovered us than there is already in the scene. And by bringing in, Joe Rogan's audience, by bringing in Tim Ferriss's audiences, I mean, Chris Brown has even shared us a bunch of times. It's like you have fresh eyes into stuff that we might have, seen a million times, but for them, it's like totally brand new. And you can see the excitement in the way they talk about it. You can see the excitement in their when they're talking about people like B-Boy Pocket or like power moves, and they're like, "Wow, this is so cool! I had no idea this existed."
Yeah.
And you're like, it feels good.
How do you find that line between keeping the breakers who know everything and it's hard to impress them versus the fresh eyeballs? Like where's that line? What do you do to balance it?
Well, we do things like, okay, so for example, we obviously to catch people's eyes, you bring in eye candy stuff, right? You show them the power moves, you show them the cool stuff, the flashy things, the flips, and all that stuff. And then when you get their attention, that's when you create actually more footage, like lifestyle features, like features about the history, features about, did you know this move came from this move, or dance tutorials, more educational things.
Sure.
So, you get their attention. It's like a kid. You get their attention, you get them to the classroom, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, we're here.
Right. So I feel like in the breaking world that there's this conflict. I don't know if conflict's the right word, but there is a balance of the flashy versus actually dancing. Because at some point, it just turns into acrobatics, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the breaking scene, they have a big problem with that. It's like, no, this is a dance art. You got to be dancing, right? How do breakers find that balance where it's like, I'm doing crazy moves, but I'm calling it a dance?
I mean, we have battles, right? We have competitions. We have judges.
Yep.
A lot of judges. You have to have a history in the dance scene to be a judge. And yes, they do. If all you have are power moves or the acrobatic moves, you're not going to win. You're not going to go to the next round, and they know it. But that's the beauty of it. It's like you have the competitions with the certain set of guidelines, which you have to be overall really good. You have to be good with the dance part. You have to be good with the power. You have to be good with the footwork. But at the end of the day, it's not going to really affect how you're going to dance when you're in the dance studio or you're in the middle of a club or you're practicing. I guess that's the beauty of it, is you do have a set rule of foundations, but regardless of how competitions are laid out or how the scene is going, you still have the freedom to do what you want.
Now, when you're in a dance battle, how much of it is freestyle and finding how you want to move to the music versus a choreographed set of what you want to do?
Every dancer is different. And you broke it off. You compared it really, really nicely. You had the freestyle stuff, and then you have sets. Some dancers, they do a lot of sets. And even with sets, it's you have to know when you start it, when to end it, in relation to the kind of music, because you can't hit beats with your sets. So every dancer is different. From me filming nowadays, I'd say, I don't know, I feel like even good freestylers in the middle of their freestyle, they know they have like a certain pattern of 3 moves where they can go boom, 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 and they can jump into a set really easily, and it's just like second nature to them.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if we want to relate that in the martial arts world, that reminds me of Matt Emig. Do you know Matt Emig?
I do not.
Okay, Matt Emig, he's one of the legends of sport karate. Everybody that's ever watched my show in karate, they all know Matt Emig. They think he's the greatest. But what made him separate, what made him really exceptional, that he would show up and he was able to put on like a different performance every time versus everyone else. They do the same thing practically all year, and even the next year, like every tournament, same form. That's equivalent to like a breaker coming up and doing the exact same dance set every time they battled, you know. And Matt was able to switch it up because he had like all of these mini sets, and then he could just glue them together and create something different. What can you tell people a little bit more, like now that you got a stable internet and I can hear you clearly and see you clearly?
Happy, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what magic you did to make that happen, but could you tell a little bit more about like the history? Like, where did this come from? Like, what's like, how do you explain this to people?
This you mean stance or just the popularity of breaking?
Popularity of breaking.
You know, breaking started in the 70s. It got oversaturated in the 80s. It died away. It got picked up in the 90s again by a series of underground events and a very well-known European event called Battle of the Year. Is going on for 27 years now. Amazing.
Yeah.
And recently in the 2000s, in the early 2000s until now, it's been just gaining this momentum. You know, Red Bull picks up on it. Monster Energy picks up on it. I mean, McDonald's had a battle earlier this year. You know, it's like, but the difference in the oversaturation now, I don't think it's still oversaturated yet because there's so many people that didn't even know it still goes on.
Sure.
But the difference between now and the early 80s is that you have dancers and the founders and the people in charge with the power of negotiation. Whereas in the 80s, corporate and people not in the scene would just take over and it's like, we're going to make people do this, we're going to make people do this. And they just, they turn it into a quick buck. So you have people influential in power nowadays creating the events. You have people in the scene owning our media, such as Stance, such as our channel. Yeah. And, us controlling what kind of stuff we want to push out there. And so that's why you have now in 2017, every year that I've been filming dance since 2004. And every year is just different kinds of people come into the scene and they stay in the scene. And that's so cool. You just get, it's just one big, snowball effect that, and I hope, 2018 is going to be even bigger.
So, yeah, it's amazing to watch the progression. Okay, sorry. Somebody in the comments just said there was no audio, and I freaked out. But they were the one that messed up this time.
Oops.
It wasn't us. It wasn't us. They just had they were just muted. But I get really sensitive when I see comments saying that the audio is not working. Do you have a B-Boy Pocket? Okay, because that's the one Joe Rogan mentioned, right?
Pocket.
Can I? Sorry, we just Pocket. We don't say B-Boy anymore, right?
Joe Rogan calls him Bobby Pocket because he had no idea what the word B-Boy meant.
Bobby Pocket. That's great. First of all, do you call people like B-Boy XYZ, or you just say Pocket? You just say their name.
For us, it's just Pocket,
You're sick of it. Like, why? Yeah, why call him? I don't know. All right. How can I find a video of Pocket? Because I want to talk about that guy. If you want to go on our YouTube channel, type in Stance Pocket.
Stance Pocket, and just search it in. You'll probably see a compilation of them somewhere.
There's a little G Pocket set at Silverback.
Pocket set at Silverback. That's the one Joe Rogan shared.
All right, well, good enough. If Joe Rogan share it, I'll share it. All right, so let's talk about this guy in particular. Who is this guy? What's going on here?
Pocket's this young kid. I still think he's a young kid. I think he's like 20 or 21 years old right now. I've known him forever. I've known him since he was 11.
Yeah.
From Korea. For me, he's the best power mover in the world. He just does. He's like a spinning top. He does not fall. He does not. He doesn't crash. And every time he goes out, he brings this big energy into the dance floor. Like if the crowd was asleep and Pocket goes out, you're not asleep again. Like it immediately catches your eye.
Wait, who's this little guy? This is him in the back in the day.
Yo, he as he's 11 years old, he comes out in a tricycle.
Yeah, that's great. Wait, I'm gonna replay it because I was like, "What's going on?"
He comes out in a tricycle.
That's hilarious. Man, the one thing I gotta say that breakers had that trickers could take a page from is like just the pure like creativity outside of the dance itself, just like the presentation. I think it's just fantastic. Like you gotta do something to stand out, right?
Yeah.
Like I think it's cool that breaking originally was inspired by kung fu movies, and they, the guys that you're talking about, like in Harlem, they'd watch all these like cheap kung fu movies, they'd see some crazy moves, and then they go create a dance form around those kung fu movies, and then rather than fighting in the streets, they'd handle their beef through dance competitions.
Yep.
At least that's how the story goes.
Yep.
I think that's just awesome. Like this is like breaking is like martial arts without any martial.
You look in the footage of Pocket's crew, his former crew from Korea, Morning of Owl, they looked like kung fu warriors.
Yeah. Wait, I think I was talking to you. We just missed the thing where they did that. All those people chained up, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I gotta rewind that because I was not paying attention. I've seen it before, and I just thought it was I've watched it like 100 times.
That's yeah. You're watching it from my camera too.
What was your reaction when you saw this?
Oh, you could hear my reaction. That was me screaming.
It's so cool. I'm gonna play one more time if you guys haven't seen this before.
And if you don't know, this is why I love filming this, because you can hear my screams in the background of my videos. It's fun.
I used to have, when I used to go to tricking gatherings, I get so hyped watching it. I would struggle to hold the camera still, and so I would upload this footage of the battle footage, and it would just be the camera just shaking everywhere because I would see something and then I'd lose my mind.
You're right.
It took a lot of self-control to like finally just like, if I got excited, like hold my composure. How often do you go to these events now?
At least twice a month.
Cool. And all over the world, right?
All over the world. I'm heading out to Taiwan on Monday for another event. Last event of the year. So
that's exciting. And now that there's like big sponsors. Well, first of all, what's UDEF? Because I see you wearing the shirt and I see it everywhere in these videos.
Oh, UDEF is connected to Pro Breaking Tour, and so we do events throughout the United States. Okay. Think it's a nonprofit at the moment, but think of it as like the early. What we're trying to do is make it be like what X Games is to skateboarding.
Sure. So you're doing basically a circuit for breaking.
Circuit for breaking, yeah.
And like, since it's a circuit, does that mean like people are like ranked or something, or how does that?
We do have a one-on-one ranking. For the crews, we do not have a ranking because every event has its own prize money and different things like that. But there is a one-on-one final that's going to take place, a world final that's going to be taking place called Undisputed in San Diego in January.
Awesome. And you said it was nonprofit, but obviously, like, to put together a show of this level, like, there's got to be some funds coming from somewhere. Where's the finances in this?
The funds are our main sponsor right now for UDEF is and the tour is Monster Energy. So Monster Energy gives us a big whopping sum of money. In turns, we produce these events, with signage and logos and stuff like that. And then we, for a lot of these events, they're free. So dancers come, they don't have to pay any money. especially Silverback Open, our biggest one, which is what footage you're watching right now. It's free, and dancers can win $100 for making top 32. Winner got 25 grand, and all that money is it comes. I don't know. I'm not really sure how the system works.
It's magic.
But I do know that it benefits both parties. Like you get the tour gets a big tax deduction at the end because it's a nonprofit, and the dancers get money in their pockets.
That's interesting. I know for Breaking the Law, we had Jarius had an interesting way of collecting funds for that event, and I thought it was smart because he would contact the University of Wisconsin, and he would promote the event as an anti-event to Mifflin Street Block Party. Mm-hmm. And so the university. So for everybody that's listening, the Mifflin Street Block Party is basically it's a one weekend a year at our college, the college we went to, where everybody just goes this one street and they all just binge drink until they have to just wander home. And it's terrible. And so Jarius, the guy that promoted his breakdance battle, would come and say, hey, I'm going to hold, there's no alcohol at my event. It's like, this is the counter to Mifflin. So you can either go to Mifflin or you could go participate in this cool dance thing. And so the university would be like, here's a fat check, go make it happen. And then he made it happen. So there's all kinds of creative ways, and I think it's fascinating because as somebody that wants to see the tricking scene grow and the martial arts scene grow, I think taking a page out of what breaking's doing is a really good call because the models right now I just don't think they're optimized. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out the balance between the art and the business side is always something that's just it's a puzzle to me,
Yeah, if at our university, if you were to go up to the people, with the grants and the funds and say, "Hey, I'm creating a breaking event," they'd be like, "Next."
Right.
You have to explain it better.
Yes.
Of what's the purpose, what's the goal.
Yes.
I mean, the goal is you want to throw your own breaking event or your own tricking event, but if you justify it in terms of other means, they're people understand it better.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't know, the way I see it, it's trying to explain to your parents what you're doing is pretty cool. What's good.
Right. Mom, can I have $50,000, please? I just want to put this event together.
Yeah, but if you say event, they're like, no, but they're like, well, it's for youth empowerment.
Right.
And they're like, okay.
Okay. That's right. It's to fight bullies. All right. So I want to know what's up for stints in the future. You going to, you said Taiwan in a week or something?
Yeah. So for stance we have obviously our bread and butter is event coverage. There's dance events all over the world. Our bread and butter footage comes from event coverage. However, what I want, and we already have done it a little bit this year and the previous years, is more storytelling. There's so many cool things happening in the scene that many people do not know about, and I do want to make more short documentaries. For example, there was a documentary we did earlier this year on B-girl Ayumi. Mm-hmm. And during the week, she's a kindergarten teacher, and during the weekends, she travels around the world dancing and crazy. Competing. And she's the best B-girl in the world. And no one knew that story. And so I wanted to bring it out because, it's inspirational.
How does she have the time to do that? That's what I want to know.
She practices every night at 11 p.m. Wow. I have no idea how she does that, but and she's 34.
My girlfriend's a first grade teacher, and she comes home every day and just hits the floor. She's just exhausted. I'm trying to imagine her also training to be a break dancer and then travel the world on the weekends. As a teacher, I don't get that's crazy. That takes a lot of
there's
a lot of work.
One of my friends, he's a biological engineer. He's also a really famous, I guess, pretty famous, well-known b-boy. His name is Lancer, out in San Diego. and he has a 9 to 5 workday, and he practices and he dances and he still travels the world. And what he told me, I was like, how do you do this? And what he told me was that, don't go home. Pack all your training clothes in the back of your car and go straight to training after work. Because once you go home, you don't want to do anything.
Right. Huh. That's cool. Yeah, so there's all kinds of stories in the breaking world that you want to tell. Are you looking to make like a real documentary, like a feature length?
No, just a bunch of. I mean, the way social media is played out nowadays, a bunch of shorter documentaries is the way to go.
Yeah.
People's attention spans are just so low that you need to get their attention one day at a time.
Sure. Yeah.
They're just small tips and tricks that I've learned working in social media for the past decade.
But you have no interest in like a Tribeca film festival kind of.
At this moment, no. It's.
I feel like there's a story out there that you could tell that would, it's got. I think tricking has it too. I think there's a story out there. I've been thinking about it for years of like how to make a story that appeals to everyone, and suddenly like the world knows what the art form is, but they do it through some sort of like really amazing story. But you're right, probably way lower risk and way better calls. Create something that fits on Instagram. Nice and quick and to the point. What is so obviously stance is primarily fueled through passion. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, is there a payoff? Or do you have another job, or what? How does this work?
All of us at Stance. So at Stance right now we have 8 people. 8 people, including me. Every day, we have our group chats, and we cover the events together. Myself included, we are located in the United States, Korea, and the UK, in Europe. So we cover a lot of continents and a lot of ground.
Yeah.
But we all do this part-time. The reason is because there's not enough money into this that you could do it full-time. Like, cool, this event will pay you, a couple $100 to cover this event. It could fly you out, but that's just one event. And how are you gonna eat tomorrow?
Right.
Or the week after. So we all have other jobs aside from this. So, for example, myself, I'm here in LA. I do a lot of, I film a lot of commercials, a lot of web-based commercials. I film for a travel magazine. I do freelance editing into other forms. And so, and other people will do the same. I have another partner. He works for LG. I have other partners that, they work for another tech company. And on the weekends, we film what we love. Ideally, I would love for us to do this full time, but there are certain monetary barriers that we need to work around and to grow around. So it's still in its baby steps.
Yeah, for sure.
But for breaking, the way I see breaking nowadays is that it's very similar to skateboarding.
Okay.
Much more so than any other event, because skateboarding is also an underground scene. In the 80s, skateboarding was huge, then it was underground. However, somewhere in the mid-90s, it switched. You got still the underground, and then you got the Tony Hawk.
Yes.
You got the vertical ramps. It got on ESPN. It had its own video game and exploded. And for breaking, I feel we're at the point where, yes, you can still have its underground, and then you can have its mainstream. And we're just waiting for that moment where it explodes.
Yes. Yeah, tricking, same thing happens in tricking, right? I mean, the tricking world is very still they're not at that level yet, but it's the same thing is happening. You have I don't know if the breaking scene is like this, but there's basically almost like a split community. You're either on you're on one part of the coin where you're like, I just care about the community, keep it underground, keep it between us, like keep it real, don't let commercialism take over, let it be free, let it be expressionism or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you got this other side that's like, well, no, I want to do this for a living. Like, I want to, like, I don't want to have to get a second job. Like, let's create something where I can get paid to do this. And finding that art or that balance again of, like, how do you grow art by when you throw money into the pot and you, like, make it into, you know, something bigger.
I feel you can do both.
Yeah.
You know, when Tony Hawk got popular for skateboarding, he was the leader of the skateboarding movement, but everyone ate. Everyone got paid at the table. Everyone's profits went up, including the underground scene, because it got more people interested into just the whole culture in general.
Sure.
You know, so whether it's like, for example, Pocket getting popular for breaking, and he's known for his power moves, which I think is like the candy to attract people to the scene. Then once you're in the scene, they want to, like, oh, I want to dress like that underground dancer. I want to dress like this guy. I want to learn more about the footwork, and so everyone benefits from it.
Speaking of candy trick or candy movement, I'm gonna play this guy here, who you may have filmed since your logo's in the top of it. B-Boy Nguyen.
Oh, Nagin.
Nagin. I never knew how to pronounce it. Nagin.
Nagin. Yeah.
Trickers love Nagin because he's got clean martial arts tricks in his
Oh,
routines.
yeah. This guy.
Yeah. Can you tell me more about this guy? Because, like I said, the tricking world, we're fascinated by him. Like,
Nagin's from Brazil. Mm-hmm. He won Rebel BC1. I would like to say 2009 or 2000. Yeah, 2009, I think. But you know, he comes from. I don't know if he actually has a tricking background. Does it look like he has a tricking background? I know he has capoeira.
I think it's a capoeira background. He is so strong, and you know, honestly, tricking comes from capoeira, like 30% of it. So, you know, it's a crossover.
Yeah.
But he does moves that trickers understand.
Yo, that guy Nagin is a beast. Right now, he lives in Las Vegas. He hangs out with Super Crew. He does a lot of shows there, and you know, you might have seen him in World of Dance on NBC earlier this year. But you know, what's really crazy about Nagin is among all the flips, you know, he's a really good dancer.
Yeah. Like,
for all of Super Crew's dance routines, he's the first dancer out there, like, starting off the dance routine. Because he can dance. He can hear the music while he's flipping. It's crazy.
Now, do you, as somebody with a better eye for the art, do you get more excited about dance moves or about the power moves?
Ideally, you want it to be both.
Yeah.
If you can hit a power move on beat, that is 10 times more impressive. So overall, we appreciate. I think for me, I've seen so much. I've seen so much footage nowadays. I've seen so many dancers nowadays that if something incredible is done on beat, you know, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what Pocket is good for, because he does listen to beats when it's upside down.
Yeah. So obviously playing all these clips in mute doesn't really show their true what they're truly doing, because there's that audio side. But we're just seeing the motion part. But that's okay. Oh, yeah, actually, that does remind me of another question I wanted to ask you. Do you have any issues with getting flagged for, like, copyright and music and stuff like that? What do you do with that?
So you know the biggest barrier to us making money at Stance, or to even do this full time, music.
Yes. No, I believe it. You have the same problem in the martial arts world.
Although, aren't you guys like less reliant on music?
Well, tricking, yes. Tricking doesn't have music at all. Like, you don't move to the beat in tricking, so that's fine. But in sport karate, there's divisions called the musical forms divisions, where your routine is actually synced up to music. And everybody uses their favorite song, you know, copyrighted music. So when you try to stream it on Facebook at a tournament, it gets flagged. July, the U.S. Open Sport Karate Championships, they played that on ESPN, and ESPN couldn't play their music for the first time ever, and they put copyright-free, royalty-free crap over top of their routine, so that the people at home were listening to this, like, really cheesy, awful music, and it was horrible. And we are definitely figuring out ourselves, like, how do you work through this stupid copyright thing. So I was just curious, like, what you guys do. Like, you must have your stuff taken down all the time.
Yes. There's different severities of copyright. And for a lot of the bigger battles nowadays, like the Red Bull battles, or Silverback Open battles, we actually have really good, producers in the scene that produce their own beats. You have Lean Rock, you have Flag, you have Blessed One. They all have their own custom beats. And so we use their music for like at least the top 8, the semifinals, and the finals. For top 16 and up, it's sometimes usually whatever it goes. But for the most important battles, we use their music for the bigger events. So we can prevent copyright flagging from that.
Awesome.
But then you have the issue of is the dance has a huge history. So if you neglect the historical music of the dance of breaking, then you're taking away a little bit of its soul. Like regardless of what you play for a final battle, it will be you're missing something as opposed to if you're playing a James Brown song.
Okay.
Right? Because like there's such a history to it, and you feel it more.
Yeah, sure, I get that.
So it's like there's a give and take. There's pros and cons for having copyright free music onto it. It's just like you're watching it and it's cool, but it might just be missing something. And but I mean that's 2017. That's just what we had to the kind of world we have to live in.
Yeah.
It sucks. But hopefully we get it figured out.
I don't see how that's going to happen, but yeah, that's an interesting point. So do you feel like there's a lot of commentary, like a lot of people feel that way? They see these battles and are like, if only you could just play.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And we can do copyright strikes when we live stream battles that are not. We live stream sometimes, battles that are not like the super big battles, but we live stream like local battles, and we get copyright flagged. It sucks, but it's just the way of life, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you still are traveling across the world and doing what you love. It's just that stupid obstacle. Maybe someday they'll figure out some sort of laws or something. Maybe it's temporary.
It's funny. You go to events in Korea, they could care less. You go to events in China, they don't care at all. They're like, oh, it's copyright? Well, that's fine. Just put it on television.
Yeah, what's copyright?
What are they going to do?
Yeah, do they even have copyright laws out there? I think China's like, yeah, let's just copy everything. It's fine.
Pretty much.
That's what they do. They're like, that's great. Do that. Steal that. Okay, I'm not going to rip on China anymore. I could, though. Cool. Well, we're pretty much running out of time here. Mm-hmm. And I asked like pretty much all. Oh, there was another question I had that I want to ask you. Did you get a chance to meet Joe Rogan?
I did not.
Did he show up at the event?
He did not.
Ah, dang.
We are trying very, very hard to get him involved next year. We have been talks. We have been in emails with Joe Rogan, and we're trying to get him involved much more next year. So
cool.
It's in the process.
That's exciting. That's cool. Do you have any more tricking events planned, or you kind of just?
You know what? I'm still waiting for the next next gathering here in LA. There hasn't been one.
No, there hasn't been one. If you have any resources out in Europe, there's a big one happening in Amsterdam.
Is there?
In December, early December. Yeah, it's called Hooked Gathering. Massive. Okay. Massive. It's probably the biggest one in the world at this point.
Really?
As far as like attendance wise, and even talent wise, it's Red Bull kicking it level talent, or plus a lot more people there. So I can send you a link to it or something.
Send me a link. I'm actually very interested.
Yeah, I'm not going or anything. I have no say in it, but it's a cool event. So if you guys wanted to go check that out, might be cool content. Cool. Yeah, I'll hook you up with that. But
All right.
anyhow, Daniel, I just want to say thank you for being on the show today. Really appreciate it. It's cool to get a chance to talk to you. Even if I had like 0 people tune in, I don't care. I just get to talk to you and get to learn more about stance. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody that did tune in today. Thank you for putting up with our audio thing in the beginning and all the glitches and stuff. We worked through it, and we're good now. We should probably go another hour and redo the first part, but I want to keep our show timely. We got stuff to do. I hope you guys all have a great Thanksgiving. This is the last episode of the week because of the holidays, so enjoy your turkey, and maybe you can go practice some breaking during Thanksgiving for a change of pace. Go check out Stance. They're everywhere on the internet. Don't get confused with the socks, though. That's the one thing I keep coming across, that freaking sock company. Have you seen those? You guys should do a partnership.
They have socks. They have like Tupac socks. They have like hip hop socks. We were actually thinking of doing something.
It would be fantastic. It's easy.
They're based in San Diego, not too far.
Guys, just fuse your company together. Sell socks and travel the world and breakdance. It's perfect. Anyhow, Stance Elements. So you can find them everywhere on Facebook, YouTube, Instagrams, and thank you guys. Check you later. Have a good weekend. What? It's not even the weekend. I'm just used to saying that. Have a good holidays. See you later.
Peace.